Hey, I'm Alex, and this is Learning Curve. And oh, come on, so complet. And I made a lightsaber. Not a lightsaber, you goddamn moron. And I was simply waiting for the... Damn, lighting went off. Thanks, it's Adrian. So what you're about to see was never supposed to be. I already knew what I wanted to do for my first show, and I was simply waiting for the materials and to figure out the camera setup. But I got bored last Saturday night, so I raided the recycling bin and made a land speeder. So enjoy. First, let me apologize for the speed of this video. It's pretty hard to put 60 hours of footage into a 10-minute clips. I started by sketching the model, sketched from top and the side view. Those sketches will then be used as pattern to cut the different cardboard pieces. I'm using my phone for reference because I had not connected my printer yet. I've used those patterns to trace and cut two pieces of cardboard. One would be the skeleton, the other would be the finishing touch. As you can see, I'm using the heaviest board to create the skeleton of the piece. And I'm already working on the sides. I was really planning to use the VEG on the cardboard structure to do the grid on the side of the land speeder. But I will later change that. Working on the insides, I've painted black some electronical looking device that's inside of the body, and the finishing layer will hide the black splosh. And I'm mixing a reddish brown for the interior of the cockpit. Putting on the windshield. And then gluing the finishing layer that will hide all the details, all the different stuff glued all together. I'm using some Bondo to be able to do better curves on the edges. And here is the result of that first night of work. I will let it dry for the night, and the next day I will sand it. On the second day I realized that it was just too good of a piece not to push further, so I've decided to redo a lot of the details, starting with the side grids. I've started by recutting the front because they were too far away, and then I removed the vague texture of the cardboard to replace it by slice of cardboards. There is a lot of sanding going on. I'm always sanding, putting Bondo, sanding again, putting Bondo, and I'm also using glue to solidify everything. And I've decided to raise part of the electronic device that's on the front of the land speeder. I'm using a black marker to paint it, and then I'm gluing it with Gorilla Glue. I used an X-Acto knife to cut a groove around the front part of the land speeder to create a hood. I then sketched a pattern for the motors, but I had no clue how I would do them at this time. Using wall plaster just to fill up the air vent and make them round. And after a bit of thinking, I realized that I could use a different size of circle to create the structure of the motors. But I would call it quit for the night, and you can now see the result of that night of work. I started the third day by creating the skeleton for the motors by pinning the circles on sewing needles and then gluing slices of cardboard over them. After all that, I would fill everything with plaster that I would be able to sand to give the form. And inside I should have created a membrane with Scott towel or something, just so that the plaster wouldn't fill the full motors, because that added a lot of weight to the piece. You can see the structure here. Filling it with plaster. And while we are waiting for it to cure, I am sanding the shit out of the body. As I said, I'm always sanding, putting some Bondo, sanding again, putting more Bondo. And while it's drying, I'm working on the small engine that sticking out of the side motor on the right side of the land speeder. I've used half the cap of a old glue bottle, and I'm just covering it with wires, electrical wires, and some cardboard slices to create some cool effect. And I'm using spray paint to create a really dark wash. And after that, I called quit for the night, and you can see the result here. We're now on a brand new day, and I decided to start by sanding the shape of the three engines. At this point, the cardboard is just ripping like crazy, and I'm starting to panic because I had not think of that. But I thought that by using more Bondo and glue, I would be able to fix it. While these are drying, I'm using an X-Acto knife to groove some details in the back of the models. This is a rather easy technique to use to add some nice little details. I also decided to rework the cockpit. I've decided to add some volume to the center part, and add some screen and front, not a front wheel, but a driving wheel. Trying to redo the same reddish brown, but I didn't fully achieve it. This new one is a little darker. Now that the Bondo is dry, I'm shaping the motor again. The cardboard is still ripping out of it, but I'm still hopeful. I'm really nervous, but I'm still hopeful. On the next day after sanding the engines again, I was pretty happy with them. So I started to work on the wing that would hold the third one in the back of the model. I'm carefully shaping it, but I won't glue it just yet. I will wait after the paint. More sanding, but I think that's the last time. Adding some varnish to help with the paint. And I've mixed light beige to do the base color of everything. And I used a reddish brown for the details, and this is when I realized that my painting skill was not on par. Everything was crooked, nothing was sharp, everything was too heavy. I was really feeling like I was ruining the piece right now. But I also realized that the brush I was using was not very good, so I used another one that was a lot better, and I came back with the paler brown, the beige, to sharpen everything, and I ended up with something that I was happy with, if not really in love with. When I applied the varnish, I realized it was glossy and that I had made a terrible mistake. Oops. I had found another packaging of Gorilla Glue, and I realized that was my chance to change the windshield that was getting very damaged by all the work around it. I ended up using a little too much glue though, so well, the result was not very good. Here I'm using water and black paint to do a very quick wash. I'm doing it as quick as possible as not to put too much paint. But a wash like that brings out all the details, and it's a rather easy technique to make something look real. At least as much real as an amateur like me can do. I then used the dry brush technique to add more details and dirt. I started black, and then I moved to beige, and finally I used the dark gray that I apply with a spatula to do some real damage to the piece. And with wooden tool, I finally applied just a little bit of silver. The result is pretty good. Yeah, and I had to glue back some parts that failed when I was doing the paint job. And finally I went back with the dark gray to hide the glue and make it look like solder. So there it is, and I'm pretty damn pleased with it. I don't know what to tell you really. I'm really happy with it because on the 5th day when I was doing the painting and the details, I was really scared I was ruining the thing. And after the weathering, it just ended up kind of beautiful, actually. I was always fascinated with the models in movie, but that level of skills was always like mind-blowing to me. But right now, I'm thinking that with a few months of practice, I could do something kind of worth filming, and that could be a nice goal to have. I'm really happy how the windshield turned out. Again, really scared that I was ruining the thing when I glued it, the second one, when I saw the glue damage. That scared the shit out of me. But I think I've hidden the crime pretty well. So that was my first build, and man, my mind is blown right now. I've made this one like 3 days ago now, and every day I'm looking at it and I'm just like amazed that I made this thing. So for first project, I think we did good. I'll see you guys soon. I almost forgot, don't forget to subscribe, like, all that jazz. So while you're looking at these pictures, there's 3 YouTubers I'd like to credit for inspiring this video. The first one is Adam Savage and Tested, who created 2 scratch building videos that really made me realize that I could do something like that. The second one would be Nick Zametti, who inspired the look and feel of these videos, as well as the fact that he's always ready to post his result on YouTube, even if the result is sometimes so-so. And the third one would be Iron Wolf Production, who's doing just some amazing maquette work, and I spent hours and hours looking at his video to absorb as much technique as I could. With this, have a great night. I hope you enjoyed the video.